Yes, guys, welcome back to the Natural Muscle Podcast with your hosts, as always, Luke Williams and Finn McNamara. So today's episode, we are going to go through our first preview of the show for the natural season, really, kicking things off with the NBW CLASSIC. So this year, like I say, it's been around for a bit recently, really. So NBW CLASSIC, which is held at Coventry at Ben Hall. So Sunday, the 26th of May. So what we want to do in this episode is pretty much just go over the show, go over the run-ins. Few people we've seen who think like stand out and I think will do well, and also like what this show can kind of do for you, because obviously Wales not too long after around the corner. So yeah, I'll give you a little bit of an insight to that and put some predictions out there and see how we do with things on there. So Finn, obviously a show you've been to before, on a stage venue you've been at beforehand. Do you want to give us a bit more of an insight to obviously Ben Hall and yeah, novice show, but an open show, a bit more of an insight to that?
Yeah, of course, mate. I will say, just because some people from rugby might lynch you next Sunday. So it's in Rugby, not Coventry, and we don't like. I don't think we like each other. Bit of a local rivalry. That it'd be like if you said someone from Rotherham was from Sheffield. I think they'd be a bit mad.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a great show. It's a really good venue, actually. I know on episode 1 we talked about the venue, and it is, I think, one of the best venues you can host shows at in terms of lighting. It's a small place, but it's one of them where you've got the auditorium, which is just basically an open hall, and then next to the stage is where the athletes all sit and get tanned. So you can't go wrong. So as we said, for a first timer, perfect location in terms of parking yourself there, and then you just walk straight on stage. It's not this massive, complex venue where you're going to get lost or don't know when you're on stage or forget, to get ready in time. Like, it's literally stage, tanning, athletes. It's just a small little venue, but it's always been there for as many years as I can remember going, basically, which goes back to 2017. They've always had the novice show there. And it's always a nice show to get to, in terms of, like, it's a bit of a reunion for everyone, because you won't have seen most people since finals last year, so October time, and most people tend to go because it's a bit of a, like you say, a catch up. So you spend most of the day chatting to people, which is really nice. So looking forward to seeing people who I haven't seen, but obviously you talk to a lot online. So yeah, as we said, it's a novice and first timer show, but with an open couple of categories, and it's a qualifier for Worlds, which is in June. I think the 14th of June, if I'm not mistaken, in Holland. So what we did last year is pretty much all winners of each category, even in the novice, were asked to go as part of Team UK, unless they were like, how to be respectful, like they'd won, but it wasn't a very good class. But there wasn't any last year, actually. No. There weren't any bad classes, quote unquote. So last year, most of the winners off memory went, but also because Worlds, as Luke knows, because obviously we both went last year, has a lot more categories than we offer in the UK. So we have like Masters Classic, they have Junior Classic, they have different age categories for some of the ones we don't. So some of the, like, a lad who say came third in Classic got invited as Team UK because he was a junior. And then one of the Masters bodybuilders who came second or third got invited to Worlds because he looked quite classic, and they put him in, and he ended up doing quite well in Classic off memory. So it's a really good show. So all the typical classes, teens, juniors, masters, novice bodybuilding, and they'll probably have a short, medium, tall for open as well. And there's 170 people doing it, which makes it, I think, the biggest UKDFBA show I can remember. Bigger than finals last year by probably 10 or so athletes. And it's one of the biggest ones probably that's been for several years. I know PCA, we talked about that. They're claiming it's the biggest natural show ever in Britain. And we are going to go as part of the podcast because we want to see what it's like. We want to see what the crack is. But it remains to be seen, obviously, how big that show is and what kind of the standard is, and the standard of, naturalness, let's say. But we're giving it a fair shout. But anyway, NBW Classic, great location. It's going to be a good show. I'm really excited, actually. I know I'm only going as the audience, but I've been really excited for a couple of weeks, and now it's a week today. There'll be judging off the time, we'll probably be halfway through the show, and there'll be quite a lot of new champions. And I just really like it because you see like the next generation. So with it being like a novice first timer, you're seeing people who you're probably going to get to know as household names in the next several years. As we did last year. There was a few people who came in as first timers and have then gone on to do very good things, and then a few of them have potentially, moving on into the other side of the sport, the assisted side, and will probably do good things there. So case in point, last year, Chris Drinkwater, I want to say his name was, CD coaching, I think he is. So he's Damien Lee's client. He won the novice mediums, and he was exceptional. As soon as he came out, like front relaxed, you were like, yeah, he's winning. And he took the overall, and he beat some seasoned open guys. Obviously, Kudus, who we mentioned in episode 1, I believe. The marathon running bodybuilding freak. He beat him, who was a national champion. And then he went on to do Worlds and did exceptionally well at Worlds as well, and was probably just shy of a pro card realistically. And if you look at his physique, he probably is pro worthy. And Chris, he looks immense. He was going to do the British, then unfortunately he had a very close bereavement. So he obviously pulled out of prep, and he had some time, but he's getting back into bodybuilding from the last thing I saw. Because he had some time away, did some charity stuff. But he will be a pro. The next time he competes, I'm exceptionally confident. So it just shows you, like, some of these people who are a week out feeling sorry for themselves, who are shredded, but 8 days, today you could be on Team UK heading towards a potential world title and a potential pro card. And it's only your first ever show. So that's why I really, really like it. Now, I know you weren't there, Luke, last year, but in terms of what's kind of your views and why it's such a good idea to do as a show, and why you think it's going to be a really exciting show.
Yeah, I mean, just from pretty much going off everything you've said there, because what it can offer to athletes, like especially as a first time competitor, the potential you have to like stepping into a sport, but then okay, yeah, you was the best in your class on that day, and not just the best in your class. You proper brought it, and what we're going to do is bring you out for Team UK and going to Holland for Worlds. Like it's just phenomenal that you have that there and that is available. But also like from a spectator standpoint, it's just exciting because it gets you into the start of the competitive season, like which is like the early, so very early, but then it just everything builds up towards like British finals and so on from there. People start getting sharper at leaning towards that, and then you see some of the people here, and they're like, they could do really well at the British, and like they're like, are they going to be there? Are they going to hold on? It's people doing like qualifiers, obviously, not really as much qualifiers. Well, there's not in UKDFBA this year, so it's going to be our first chance and not our only chance, but we've got less chance to see who's going to be there at the British, which is also exciting as well. Because rather than knowing every single competitor who's qualified, especially like those who are winning the class, ultimately they're probably going to be there. So you're going to see like you kind of know your matchups, but the first year we don't really. So this is our first time to see who is going to be potentially there at the British this time. Who's going to be pushing these other guys who've competed multiple years before, but they've come in as a first-time competitor, and they're like, they could be up there. So yeah, it's excitement, and like things start to build, and especially like as you mentioned earlier, Finn, like as the weeks have been coming down, the excitement's been building towards going back to the show. And as a competitor, especially being like heavier in your off season, it's like going to a stage, the smelling the tan, and seeing other competitors out there on stage. It makes you, it's like, yeah, you get that buzz back again. As much as it doesn't fade from training and so on, being in and amongst that's what it's about. There's like seeing it from pictures online and stuff, it doesn't do it justice as being there at a show day, especially if you've competed before. it brings it back, and it really kind of like it lights that fire again. So yeah, I'm excited for that, to get in amongst it really. And yeah, there's a lot of good first time competitors bringing it to stage. So if anything, it just acts as added motivation really. And yeah, more importantly, just like highlights like loving what you do in terms of the training and stuff, and wanting to be amongst it and meeting other like-minded people. And yeah, so early in the season, being able to kind of like see others like that, I think, yeah, it's great that UKDFBA put on a show so early in the competitive season, really. Yes, I know it can be long for people dragging it out towards British, but there's also that other route there from Wales if you do place very well as well. But yeah, I mean, like I say, there is plenty of people who we've seen through on this building up from socials and stuff. But as we both know, Finn, not everyone's on social media, so you could easily be shot from it. And that's what's exciting about bodybuilding. You have to be there to see who's going to be there at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So do you want to go through in terms of the run through? I imagine they run it through as standard with like the teens and so from there.
Yeah, so I mean, they might not, because as we saw with the British last year, they changed the order for the first time ever, basically. So we had junior bikini, junior physique earlier, and we did men's physique and bikini first, which we usually do second. So they could stick to that, or we might go back to their tried and tested, which is teens, juniors, masters, grandmasters, masters figure, and then usually figure physique, and then the bodybuilding, classic, and then bodybuilding, and then obviously they'll have the open classes, and then respective overalls once everyone in that particular demographic has been on. So once all the bodybuilders have been on, they'll do the bodybuilding overall. It's not like we said in episode 1, it's not like the PCA where they will have the overall at the end of the day, or like the BMBF has the overall at the end of the day. Once everyone's been on from bodybuilding, they'll have an overall, even if there's classes still to go. And I think that works quite well in some, because sometimes if the overall's on at the end and most people have gone, the best athlete's not getting the biggest audience almost. So you can see why. So yeah, I imagine there's going to be very, very deep classes. We're not going to go for every class by class because we just simply don't know. If we had the list of the running order, then we could go through, but we don't. We only give that out the day off. Sorry, but like Luke said, there will be some secret people. And AJ hinted he's got a secret prepper. We've speculated privately, me and Luke, who it may be. I don't want to say because we might be wrong, but we're both confident. We think we know who it is, based on stuff that they've put on, and they look pretty lean in some of their videos and training videos have been putting up. But there's always like you say, some random who they might not be that active, or they might not be that known by people, because our circles are quite shared in terms of if a good bodybuilder will be shared by people, and if they're not saying in particular known, even if they are on social media, people might not necessarily know of them until they rock up, and then it's like, oh shit. And even then, just earlier, I was on the UKDFBA page on their tags just to see if people have tagged their posts, and there's a few people who I've not seen yet. I don't know anyone who has seen them, and one of them particularly, which we'll get into in a little bit, is fucking hell, could be an overall winner, never mind a class winner in men's physique. So yeah, it will be probably teens first up, and the teens could be the class of the day. It really could. We already know of half a dozen at least. Really, really good lads. I think there'll be double figures doing teens. I think there'll be 10, 11, 12 plus. A big class. And I think there are going to be some very good lads who unfortunately won't place. Because when the classes are bigger, they usually place top 6. So I reckon there could be some 7th and 8th place lads who, in any other teen lineup, probably could win. Put it that way. Because the teens are very, very strong this year. I would say front runner. And again, none of this, you know by now on this podcast, we're not favoritism. We don't go off following. We don't go off who are your coaches. We don't go off if we know you. We just go off what we see. And he's called Jacob Tipper and or Jake. Fantastic physique, thick muscle bellies, massive quads. He's got, his two vastus muscles, his medialis and lateralis are ridiculous, like dense as fuck. And to have them is obviously genetic. To have where, because obviously some people's like mine, my lateralis is really high up my quad, whereas his is like literally either side of a knee, and that just makes your fucking quad look 10 times bigger. He looks incredible, and you look at his page, and he was deadlifting, high 200s when he was 16. Yes, it was sumo, but it still is heavy. So it just shows you. There we go. And he looks like he could be front runner. So again, by us saying this, just a little disclaimer and talking about the other classes, that doesn't mean that we're saying he is certainly going to win. So if you're a teen who's listening to this, we're not disrespecting you. We're just saying it. We're just talking. We're just talking bodybuilding. So this isn't us saying like we haven't got favourites. We've just been objective. So yeah, he's exceptional. Archie, who we had on the page, who did a PCA show, he's in very, very good condition, and he's got tighter since then, so he will be up there. Couple of the lads, there's a lad who did FitX yesterday, called Harry. So shout out to him as well because he did FitX. I imagine as a junior, because I don't think FitX have teens. His first ever show, and he was very, very lean, very, very lean. So if you bring that condition. And say Jacob, even though he's bigger, if he's, I don't know, he gets something wrong the week before and he's a bit softer, things can sway. So I think the teens is going to be the class of the day. Last year, the teens was a very, very good winner in Harry, who then, I think, did he actually end up doing teens at Worlds, or was he one of them? But didn't he like turn 20 like the day before Worlds or something?
Ali, and I think Eva just crossed over to yeah, I think he just missed out on teens and had to do juniors, or Worlds don't have juniors, one or the other. But anyway, ended up doing juniors there, and still didn't look out of place there. But yeah, he's going again this year, I believe, but at the back end of the year, isn't it?
No, I was meaning Harry Crabb.
Yeah, Harry Crabb. Yeah, he did. It was like a week. It was something so stupid like that. So yeah, he did juniors as well, didn't he? I think he either missed the cutoff or they didn't actually have teens. Might have just.
I think he turned 20 like the day of the show or something stupid.
Yeah, but yeah, he looked phenomenal. And someone who's gone to the other side and still looks phenomenal, blown up, done well. And it's like, yeah, you've got.
He's incredible.
Yeah, great athlete. And then just another shout.
Yeah, like I say, the
teens as well. I think there's.
Go on, yeah.
He's in great condition. He's Dylan Jones, coached by Nathan Marks. He actually competed in 2022. Did the UKDFA in Northern as well. But yeah, great condition. Like bringing that. I think he's only 18 as well. So yeah, shout out to you, mate, bringing that condition. And like I say, you might be against bigger guys, but if you're bringing it on the day and they're a little bit off, like you could be in the mix, like. And everyone looks different on social media, as we know.
Well, that's it. You don't judge your opposition, and don't do what I mean. I fell foul of it the first couple of times I competed. Is find out who's in your class, or even on the day, go through all the names, look them up, and then you look at them on their check-in photo and go, oh my god, with perfect lighting and a pump, wow, they look amazing, and then you stand next to them, and then you're in first call-outs and they're not, and it's like, oh, how did that happen? So yeah, don't do that. Don't see other person's checking, because like I say, it's great lighting with a pump in the perfect setting until everyone stood on stage in all equal lighting and with the same tan. Doesn't matter. It does not matter. So as I say, all you can do is just keep going. You've got 6 days left by the time you hear this, and realistically, unless you're obviously listen to your coach, but you shouldn't really be you shouldn't really be like in panic stations now 6 days out. Like you'd like to be ready to just cruise into the show. And some people might be carving up early, some people might be not. Again, don't judge that. Like, if you see someone on social media who started peaking, quote unquote, 2 weeks ago, and you haven't started, like, that doesn't mean anything. That's just how their coach is running something. Doesn't mean that you're behind, they're in front. Doesn't mean anything. Just means that's what they're doing. I've seen people who peak for 2 weeks get beaten by someone who just does 1 day carb loading. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter on the day. It's just once you step under those lights and you get judged fairly, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, probably best thing to say, especially if you are someone who's competing, well, listening to this or watching this week, and you've got the show coming up this weekend, like just follow what your coach has said, because that is ultimately what's going to land you in the best position from now until then, basically. And even if you could change things for shows after, like, you won't know that until after. The best approach is just following that, doing what you're supposed to do in towards that day to deliver the best look on stage under them lights. That's all you can do, really. And then moving on from teens, I mean, he got like juniors, which is a couple of them, like, people on there, and we're not just shouting him out for his reels here, but I'm sure they do they do well as well. But yeah, Mr. Jack Chan, Julian, he'll also be doing junior bodybuilding and classic, I believe. And just, beautiful shape, just great structure for it, and yeah, another one that I will think will do very, very well. But there's like I say, we don't know if he's going to win the show or not. He might not even be top three. Like, but he's got a very, very good chance of doing so, based on what we're seeing from social media. And that's it, non-bias, just going off what we're seeing. His shape, his posing. He looks like, as a novice competitor, when someone's not stepped on a stage before, but they can transition well, hit the poses very, very well, hide weaknesses, show their strength very well. That stands out, and that's why they're worthy of a shout out, basically. So yeah, be an interesting one in juniors. Juniors always tends to be a very highly stacked class, but we've even got like I say, the teens are like a little bit younger this time, and they look like that's going to be a good class of the day as well.
Absolutely. No, obviously with Julian, he's done the Josh Campbell protocol of highly logging his prep on socials, and obviously he's you crack the algorithm if you do a reel of you posing with good trending audio and your age, weight, and natty status, you tend to do very well in the algorithm, as we've seen, and he's double, tripled his following in a very short space of time, and obviously he loves it. He clearly loves it. He's in great condition. He's pushed very hard, clearly, to get that condition as a first timer and as a first timer junior. But he will do very well. But again, and this isn't aimed at him at all. This is just a thought. Those people who are very open, like we were saying about, there's some people who won't post at all, like they're competing. The ones who are very open and get a lot of traction and a lot of people commenting and being very, very complimentary, just have the ability, and I'm sure Julian does, because he seems like a really, really nice lad. He's a supporter of this pod and page, and he talks to both of us, and he's very, very humble, which you need, because what you wouldn't want to happen is, say, someone who is better on the day happens to beat you, but for the last 6 months everyone's been telling you, oh yeah, you're the best. Your reaction to that will tell a lot about where you're going to go to as an athlete. So like I say, that wasn't just at him, but that's just using him as an example in terms of, he's got a big following now who are almost expecting that win. So it's a case of, like you say, those followers can't always, we can't stand on stage for you. But he's got an exceptionally good chance, but a bit of a late runner into things. Adam Powell's very, very new client. He only took him on a couple of weeks ago. Sorab. Apparently, he was prepping himself. He goes to, it must be Cambridge, because Adam lives in the Cambridge area. He goes to Cambridge University, so he's clearly a very intelligent guy. And Adam's client knew of him, so he's taking him on. Very peeled, very peeled. Very good muscle maturity for a junior. Now that, without getting like too weird with the conversation, sometimes with like juniors, if they've got exceptional muscle maturity for like compared to like someone else who's 21 who was stood next to, sometimes that can just be something that you can't control. Because say if you, for adolescence, you were like a late bloomer, like someone who was like had a bit of a man's body at 14 and you didn't get yours till you were like 18, 19, that makes a difference in bodybuilding, because that means he's been growing with his like man's frame for nearly a decade by the time you get to juniors, whereas you might have just had 3 or 4 years. Like me, and again, not an excuse, I was a pretty crap junior. I was a bit of a late bloomer. Like I was a skinny little boy until like 18. And some of these 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds have big shoulders, big backs, thick legs, and it's like, yeah, that wasn't me. So it does come into it. Sorab looks really good. He's got an exceptionally classic look as well. So I think he's doing classic as well. So him and Julian could be a bit of a duo. And again, like what we said at the beginning of the show, that could be one of those where, you know, if say Julia wins the bodybuilding and Sorab wins classic, they could still both go to worlds in their respective classes. So like you say, there's plenty of scope there, but I think that could be the rivalry of the day in terms of if they are the top two, which they might not be. And then Connor, who we featured on the page, who last weekend he did 2 bros Scottish and won again. So shout out to him and his missus. But we'll get on to her when we go to the bikini side of things. He's peeled, very very peeled, and you know if people aren't on condition, he's going to shine. He's going to do very well, I'm sure, because he's pretty much fat free. And for a taller lad, like he's got like very good condition, and the amount of muscle that he has, he's showing it very well. And he's got a lot of stage experience, whereas the other 2 lads haven't been on stage before. So that can count against you. You know, if you're super nervous, shaking, you're not quite hitting your posing. Whereas Connor, you know, it'll probably be his 5th show, I think. It makes a difference. Like, and he's got that confidence of winning, which gives you another 5 or 10%, and he will probably showcase an enjoyment factor more so on the day than someone who's first ever time on stage and also might be very very focused on that winning. If you've already won before, Connor's probably just going to be pretty relaxed and pretty enjoy it, which then the judges do feed off. So I think juniors and teens certainly could be the classes of the day. I really, really do. But like I said, if anyone's not been mentioned, it's just because we just happen to have not come across you on social media. That is it. And social media is exceptionally finite. You know, we don't know everybody.
Especially if you're doing a secret prep, like we're not going to know, like unless it's kind of secret, but not. But yeah, and then even like going into bodybuilding, like taking a leap through from that, and it's interesting point as well, and something what Mark brought up with our last episode about like classic and bodybuilding. Like, could you have 2 in the same class, but they could flip flop from classic to bodybuilding based off the criteria? It's like we're yet to see that, or to know if that is the case, and it could be, because in terms of the criteria, you could be more classic, but the other one just is a better bodybuilder for bodybuilding. But we're yet to see that. It would be very interesting to see. For sure. But then, yeah, bringing it all the way back to like 2022, one of Keith's clients deserves a shout out because he made some great improvements since the 2022 season. Jay, of course, is it on socials? I believe Jay, of course, yeah, someone.
Well, that's what OFC is, isn't it? Like I read it as that, but
yeah,
it might not be. So if it's not Jay, we apologise.
Jay, anyway, Jay. JOFC, so whatever, you've got it down there anyway. But yeah, he's made some phenomenal improvements, like conditioning very very well, looks to have more fullness as well, so I'm sure he will do very very well. But yeah, we don't know who else is going to step up on that stage with him, so it could be your best look today. Guaranteed it's going to be your best look 100%, unless something goes very very wrong from now until then. But we never know who you're going to be stepping on stage with. And that's not us saying we have some insight into these secret preppers either, is it, Finn? It's something you know and that I don't know.
No. Exactly. But no, Jay's improved a hell of a lot. He had masses of muscle at the BNBF Northern in 2022. He was in a very good heavyweight class. He just was. Probably could have been a bit harder, which I'm sure he'd hold his hands up. But he was in a very good class, and he's been with Keithy a long time. And it just shows you if you stay with a coach a long time, you're gonna prep better.
Yeah.
The more time you spend with him. Very peeled, very big. I'd hazard a guess he's medium, because obviously we don't do weight categories at UKDBFA. He'll be up there. He will be up there. It's his best he's ever looked, and I do think he looks phenomenal. So keep going, Jay. I can't wait to see that. But obviously, he could be in the overall because this guy will be in short. But Leon Campbell, who we featured on the page, he's doing it. He's coming for that Worlds invite because obviously he's an ex-British champion, so he will be in the Open. So there we go. That could be an overall battle right there. And Leon's looking his best ever. A lot more conditioned than I think he's been previously, even in his British win. But what Leon has is just thick, dense, long-standing. He's been training decades, kind of muscle. The kind of probably can bench 3.5 plates, can squat 6 plates, and pull 7 plates kind of size. I'm not saying he can. I'm just saying when you look at someone that big, he's strong. You can tell he's strong. So Leon's coming, and obviously he'll be going to Worlds. If Leon turns up as he's capable of, very much so, he could not only take the show overall. He's probably going to be a Worlds contender. And obviously, when we do our Worlds preview, we'll go over that. But he has the capability to go on and probably win Worlds and potentially get pro status. And if it's ran like last year's Worlds, where pros are on at the end of the day and new pros are allowed to do it, he's capable of standing with a pro lineup. He really is. So categorically, this is what we were saying at the start of the episode. Like, some of these people could be, in less than a month's time, could be pro world champions. Literally. Like, you win your class on Sunday, you go to Team UK, you win your class at Worlds, you get given a pro card, you do a pro show, and you beat the pros. It can happen. And it did happen last year, because the men's physique guy did it. So there you go. It just shows you this is what you could be doing. In a month's time, we might even have him on. Someone like that who has done that. And we'd love to have him on, because that means it's another great athlete to be inclusive of. Someone as well who is doing it is who's peeled. I imagine they'll be doing the novice side of things because it's the first ever show. He's AJ's client. He's called Muscle Building PT, but his name's Jordan. Doesn't have a last name. Now he is peeled. You'll have seen him on AJ's stories. He is shredded. Yeah. He is shredded. He is about as conditioned as a first timer can physically get, and that is testament.
There's no fan that as well. He's more fair skinned than you, Finn. I know you've had your...
No, I know. Yeah, fair play to him, mate. If he looks that good with his pale skin, like, we know he's peeled, like, because that's the thing. When I was peeled, my check-in photos looked like you couldn't see anything because I'm so pale. But he's paler than me, and he's in. So for a first timer, and I messaged AJ saying that, like, for a first timer to get in that condition is pretty ridiculous, and you've got to just hold your hands up and say it doesn't get done a lot because obviously a lot of first timers don't have the muscle mass to do that. So he's pro level shredded. I would hazard I would consider him. But I imagine he might be in the novice side of the men's bodybuilding classes. I don't know how tall he is, so I don't know what he may or may not be in when it comes to that. But he looks. Right, yeah.
Medium tall.
And another late comer into things, and I only found out yesterday, but I have now changed my mind. So when you mentioned Mark Willets, he actually had a question, and I'm going to answer his question now. It was basically who we're most excited to see, and this guy, I've decided very late to change my mind to him. So he's called Tom G, G-E-E. He has been training a long time. He did an MPA show in 2017, and that's how I know him. I followed him since then. He won the overall, and he was fucking incredible. He's one of them guys who realistically should be a pro already, but he just doesn't compete regularly. He's had 7 years away, and he's got better. He did a NABA show earlier in the year. and he is thick muscle. He's a powerlifter, so that just explains where his thickness comes from. Now, obviously, if he's as good as he was 7 years ago, if not better, he could win everything. And like I said, he could comfortably win his pro card. I don't know if he will be Masters or Open. He's good enough to do Open, but I think he is in his 40s. But he is exceptionally strong. If you go on his page, it's all lifting. And yeah, he's, you know, I mean, I'm just on here now, you know, a few weeks out is 5 plates aside on the Cybex for 10, you know, it's pretty impressive. You know, heavy pressing, heavy deadlifting. It's all there. And I only saw it yesterday because it came up on a post. Jim had posted him saying, good luck next week in your show. Has been. Then I would potentially put him as the favourite, quote unquote, you know, if we can say that. But like I say, so to answer Mark's question, I think he could be the person I'm most excited to see now, because how good he was 7 years ago was special. Like, dense, bubbly, rock hard condition. He won that show at a canter. Like, no one even came close from memory. And he didn't go on to then do the British. I reckon if you scroll back enough years on UKDFBA, he's got a photo of him from an early UKDFBA British show, probably 14 or 15, 2014 or 15. So he's been around for a long time. So he's probably just got his eyes set on Worlds, and he's more than capable of getting there and winning it, I would say. So Tom G, I think, you know, he's up there. He's definitely going to be. He'll be one of those where, because not many people know or seen him or heard of him, he'd walk out and everyone would be like, who the fuck is that? Like, that level of physique, I think. Now, don't get me wrong, 7 years is a long time away from the stage. He might have been injured. You know, we saw it with Brian Whitaker a couple of years ago. He came back after a long time off, and he wasn't the same. But if he's anywhere near that, or if he's even better, then not many people would be able to touch him, because, like I say, he's a pro level physique. You know, it'd be almost like a smaller version of a Ben Howard turning up. Like, you're not going to beat him. Like, he almost shouldn't be an amateur. So yeah, exciting times. And realistically, like I say, you know, scrolling through some of the best of the you know, people who've tagged the UKDFBA, there's not too many more bodybuilders I've kind of found come across. No, I was going to say there's not too many. I mean, if we have missed anyone, it is just our own ignorance. It's nothing to do with you not being someone. It's just we're looking. We've tried to find people, but we don't have everyone who's put a name forward, and that's nothing. That's not our fault. Like, it just is what it is. But like I say, I think the bodybuilding side of things, there's some extremely good people doing it. And that's exciting, because again, it gives you that inspiration to be like, shit, I need to get my arse in gear, and I need to you know, start pushing harder, because obviously if we make our comeback in some point in the next few years, these people are going to be even better, because they'll have even more time off, and then there'll be even another generation coming through. So it just constantly gets better. That's why you can't rest on your laurels. You can't rest on your laurels.
That's it. That's it. And even with the off season, it's probably the only sport where that's where the improvements are made. It like we can't make too much improvements throughout the prep. It's like a case of trying to retain as much muscle as possible, but the work goes on as soon as you step off that stage to want to return again, to ensure we have made them improvements. So that's why it's exciting to see, okay, what someone's coming back to the stage, what improvements they've made in a short period of time, or what's possible in someone who's took 7 years off from stage. So it's exciting to see what we're doing and what we're working towards. And you'll know, like, if you're in a long, lengthy off season, Like you'll almost second guess yourself and doubt, like, am I moving in the right direction? Am I making progress? And you can think that in a contest prep as well. But if you're ticking the boxes, if you're meticulous with things and you're training really hard, you should be. And it should just add as like, yeah, should be added motivation going to shows and seeing what is potential, what you can potentially get to. So yeah, very much excited for this. And then bringing us on to men's physique, Finn. We'll go from men's physique and then we'll go through the women. But yeah, men's physique, that's another one. There's a couple of tags out there, people returning back, who's competed numerous seasons before. That's going to be an exciting one. Mentions obviously Zach Fulrams, Klein, Johnny Clough. He loves bodybuilding, loves to compete, loves men's physique. Year on year, he'll come back and shredded as well. Very good condition all the time. He's got good stage presence up there. And then Rob that's actually Zach's client as well. I think Rob Yianni. He did the 2023, sorry, UKDFA Northern. So yeah, he very, very peeled. A lot of muscle, like grainy, hard muscle as well. Just looks like someone who's trained hard and heavy for years. So yeah, he will definitely bring it because like his condition was nailed last time, and just missed out on that top spot. And then Emmanuel, who we've seen in tagged, who just looks to have a huge amount of muscle and potential there. So yeah, that will definitely be an exciting class. And I know a lot of the men's physique tend to put a lot more in terms of like posting, tend to be a lot more active than all of the bodybuilders. But not seen so much out there. So it could be one of there where someone just turns up out of nowhere and you're like, who is this guy? So yeah, it's exciting to get to see that. And then as the season progresses, you'll think, right, are they going to do this? Are they going to do the next show? Is it going to be a battle of him versus him? Is someone else coming back in figure or something? So yeah, the excitement builds as soon as the season starts because those who even people who come off, like you're thinking, right, when are they next going to show up? Are they going to be on from there? Are they going to potentially take it if they're on? So yeah, the excitement builds as the season progresses. So that's going to bring us through. Obviously, we had Connor's missus in potentially going to do bikini, Georgia. Great shape for bikini as well. Same with Connor. Couple of shows behind her, so she'll have the confidence of being up there. Yeah, good stage presence in comparison to some first-time competitors, and that goes a long way, doesn't it? The first time up on stage, some people handle it really, really well. Vast majority of people, like, we get into this sport for the love of training, so like getting up there on stage in front of hundreds of people, not everyone's going to be confident with that. And can that potentially not places? Yeah, absolutely. So it'd be exciting to see, and I wouldn't be shocked if someone who is very, very good, but doesn't absolutely showcase their physique to the best, because nerves get the better of them at this show. It wouldn't surprise me if they go on to actually winning the British, just because they've not managed to nail it through up towards then. So yeah, it is an exciting one, and people do this show and then do very, very well at the British at the back end of the year. From figure, I've not seen too much from this, so it tends to be a really good class as well, figure. But yeah, I've not seen too much in terms of like the figure athletes. Have you seen much over socials, Finn?
To be fair, just literally found one now. So I'm on the UKDFBA tags. Christian Chapman's got one. She's called Scary Mary Fitness. She's 46 and in incredible shape. I don't know what her full name might be. But he put a photo of her on a few days ago. And yeah, like she is very shredded, got figure shape. I imagine she will be master's figure, but very, very, very impressive physique. Realistically, it's, there's going to be some very, very, very good girls who we might not know. There's another one on here called Ainsley, Ainsley Active. I think her name's Ainsley McLean, going on a profile. She's tagged them saying she's 2 weeks out, and that was last week. So I imagine she looks very good. She's doing figure poses, so
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, I think it's one of Danny Howarth's clients. I think she's got quite a few shows back up. So, I think she's competed quite a few seasons. So I'm sure she'll nail the poses and got a great structure for it. So definitely could be one there to potentially walk home with a win on the day for sure. Then there is one who have actually
now another one.
Sophia Giovanni. She actually competed. She did the UKDFA 2023 as a novice women's physique. She was first place 2023. I'm not sure if she did the British. Did she? I believe she did the Heart of England last year. Quite local to me. I'm sure. Coached by Michael Fox.
Yeah, looking on a profile, it's definitely at rugby. So I'd imagine with the day she must have she'd have done the same show last year.
Yeah.
By the looks of it, because it's May last year, so she'll have done that.
Yeah.
So she clearly won. And actually remembering her now, because now I've seen her, I'm like, yeah, she was very good for her first ever show. And like you say, now I also want to shout out Damo's client, Leanne Short. She is doing, I'd imagine, physique. Potentially, she could even do bodybuilding. She's exceptional. Her fella did novices last year, Tommy. Very good bodybuilder in his own right. Now Leanne is, and I said to Damo, like, genuinely one of the most impressive looking. Obviously, again, we're seeing check-in photos, but potentially one of the most impressive first-time natural females I've ever seen across any category. Big arms, big delts, thick muscle head to toe, and for her first show, she's in very good condition. Like, she's one, and we talked about it when we talked about the categories a few episodes ago. Of unfortunately, because physique, athletic / fit body doesn't have as many categories, not categories, competitors. Like, numbers are usually lower, but the positive of that is you can rise through the ranks. So someone like her could comfortably be a pro within 2 shows. Because I can't see how she won't win. It would take someone unbelievable to beat her, unless she's not on, obviously. And we've been with Damo. Damo makes sure his clients are on. He's a great coach. Obviously, he was my coach for many years. So Leanne, realistically, she's more than capable of being a very good world's competitor too. Similar to what I was saying about people like Leon and Tom. So she's outstanding. So she will be one that on the female side that would answer Mark's question that I'm looking forward to seeing, because she's exceptionally she's just got a lot of muscle. And actually, if you go on Damo's profile, it's the last person he put on there. Big back, her quads. You wouldn't be out of place seeing them on like a men's lineup. Like, she's fantastic. So credit to her for obviously training hard for many years to earn that right. And now she's prepped to hit the stage. So yeah, Leanne would be my shout out for my female, who I'm most excited to kind of see next week. And I think realistically, we've got a few more we probably haven't seen. But like I say, on the women's side of things, I must say, like, not always, but on the whole, like, some of them tend to be a bit quieter and just crack on and go about the business. So, whereas some of the lads tend to like posting a lot. So, like I say, it's definitely going to be an exciting show for that side. I've just literally while I've been filming, another person has tagged the UKDFBA. It looks like he's doing men's physique. He's called Rufus_Cav. And he's literally just put up a little reel. He looks very good, actually. Pose as well, pretty good shape. So there you go. That's another one to add to the list. And Tom Stockton, actually, yeah, that's what I forgot to mention, because when you were talking about men's physique, you really cut out Luke. So hopefully that's not affected the filming. Tom Stockton's got two lads doing it, one called Matt Day and one called Will Kempsford. He put a photo of them together a couple of days ago. Both look really good. As you'd expect with Tom coaching them, proper men's physique through and through. Both, got the shape, got the posing down to a T. So they'll be very well presented on the day. You can absolutely put your money, put any money on that. That's going to be the case. So, like I say, I think realistically, we're probably, out of all the people we know of, again, if we have missed people, that doesn't mean that we don't think you're good. It's just we haven't seen you at all. But like I say, there's a very good lineup coming in, and I think potentially it could be the best novice NBW Classic version of ever. And I think this is the third one they've done. And obviously it was a novice show for many years before that, but it was the USN Classic. And even then, it will surpass any of those, I think. If all these people turn up in shape, well, that's just the state of natty bodybuilding. Every show is getting better. First timers are getting better. Juniors are getting better. Teens are getting better. Like, it just is what the sport's getting better.
Yeah, just a better standard overall, and that's what excites you. But also, it ensures that, right, okay, we're in the off season now. We need to be improving, because all these other guys around us are improving. More people coming to the spot. And it's not just beating the who beat you previously. So it's about, right, adding the youngsters in the mix, or people who have maybe trained for a decade and they're now a novice competitor. And we see it year after year. And that's the one, like the actual novice open class at this show. I guarantee there'll be some freak turn up out of nowhere. It's been training, just keeps to himself, loves his training, turns up, got shed load of muscle, probably ridiculous appealed, and could be up there winning the show. None of us know about him, but we soon will. We'll soon see on Sunday anyway. So yeah, it'll be exciting times for sure. So yeah, we do apologize if we have missed you. If you have been putting stuff out there, like I say, it wasn't our intention to. But at the end of the day, we've not we've tried search and see who's there, and we'll know as soon as we obviously get the schedule through. And when it comes to show day next Sunday. So yeah, exciting times. But what we'll do, as we tend to round off most of the pods, is go through some of the questions from some of our listeners and viewers. So do you want to kick things off with the question? I know you've gone through Mark Willits. I know you've pretty much answered that now, haven't you, Finn? But I know you've got another question, and we've got one on the pod page as well.
Yeah, bit of a funny one, but to be fair, it's actually good. It's a little thing we can talk about. Is Phil asked, why do coaches leave it until the week of the show to buy the tickets, and then when they're sold out, put beggy stories up asking if anyone can sort them out? And yeah, simple answer is, what the fuck are you doing? Like, your client's going. You prepped your client for like 6 months for that show. Why do you leave it so late to get tickets? Now, the nasty answer for some of you is because you're narcissists and you think the world revolves around you, and because you might have a big following in a big coaching business, that you can just be like, oh, well, do you know who I am? I'm Joe Blogs. Like, give me a ticket. Lee does not run his federation like that, and you'll come to know that. And it was actually a couple of years ago, I won't name who, quite a known prep coach turned up on show day with no ticket and then demanded to be let in because of who he is. And he has a big name in the industry. And Lee's missus, Amy, on the door was like, no. Like, why should you just come in for it's 20 quid. Like, the money goes to the federation, and the money funds athletes going to Worlds and pays for the venue. Like, can you just give us 20 quid like 6 weeks ahead of time. Like, tickets sell fast, so just buy them. Like, so ultimately, like, are busy, don't think about things like that, but ultimately, don't leave it until the last minute, because especially as a first timer, you should be there as a coach. Now, I personally think if you live in the same country as a client, you should go to their show. That's probably a topic for another day, but I don't like it when coaches never go to the client's show. Like, it's so different looking at me in person. And then the same coaches will put stuff on social media like, oh, my client got robbed today, but you weren't there. So you don't actually know. You just saw a very flattering photo of your client and an unflattering photo of the person who beat them. And you're saying the judges are fucking idiots, like we saw last year with a certain show and a certain coach. But if you weren't there, shut up. Like, literally, you do not get to speak. Like, go to your client's show, for fuck's sake. Like, it doesn't take any effort. And you're a prep coach, you should want to go to bodybuilding shows, because you should want to see how your client lines up, get actual realistic feedback. So see, does your client need more muscle? Do they need more condition? And also, see where your client fits in the criteria between like bikini and figure. And then you actually see figure girls and go, oh shit, she's more figure, she shouldn't have done bikini. You don't know until you see it. So yeah, I know it's a bit ranty, but ultimately, just go to your client shows. Fucking hell.
Yeah, you couldn't have really said that any better. I mean, like, coaches are in this industry, especially this niche, like natural bodybuilding, or even if they coach assisted athletes, like, they should be in this because they love bodybuilding and love to coach athletes, and do what they can to be at shows. Like, I understand if they have clients across multiple shows and they're at another show, like, that is fair enough. But if they don't, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, you should be there. Like, they're investing into you. So you should invest back in towards them. And like, we both know it's a stressful day, especially as a first time competitor, or even for some who've competed years after year, or like, and they might have the pressure of returning as a British champion, like, as I was work from Mark's done now, and that might affect someone different. So having your coach there and thinking, no, like, don't, like, you are on, like, because you can't, like, natural bodybuilding, we can't change much in like in the day. Like, we've just got to deliver the best we can through on that day, and the work should be done by then. There's no magic water manipulations that is gonna change you from going outside of first call outs to winning that. It's not gonna happen. Unfortunately, if you wake up and you're a little off, like, there's nothing you can really do about it on the day. It is what it is, effectively. But yeah, we'll keep through from the rant topic through of that. But another question through, so not even really aimed through at this show in particular, but more just at prep in general. So Heather Elizabeth sent quite a few questions in for the pod, so I do appreciate the questions. But quite an interesting one, really. What sups are your necessities in prep? And I'm gonna just put it out there and say, like, there's not one supplement that is a necessity. It depends in terms of how much disposable income you have. But then it depends how big your goal is, and like, it's all going to be relevant to you at the end of the day. There's no kind of, this is right, this is going to get you like fish fins to skin or anything like that. It's simply not the case. But ultimately, you should know what makes you perform well in the gym, like what you are using for that, whether you're using like an intra-workout carb powder and stuff, what can get the best out of your training, and what isn't kind of making you just wait paycheck to paycheck to survive. But what gets the best out of your training, that will deliver the best look. Because at the end of the day, if you can train to the best of your ability, you are likely going to retain as much muscle as possible, and deliver the best look to stage. But if you're just ticking the boxes off when it comes to your training, when it comes to a prep, that's when you will suffer. So yeah, that's what I would say from that thing. Yes, there is sleep supplements out there and stuff, but as we've mentioned before, you've got to accept, if you're entering a natural bodybuilding prep, sleep is just going to suffer. Like, that's part of it. If you're going to get lean, if you're going to get contest lean or even close to that, your sleep is going to suffer. So yeah, there is no magic supplement. It's a case of utilizing what you have to get the best out of your training. That's what I'd say, really. Anything else you'd add to that, Finn?
To be honest, mate, didn't hear the question because you've fully just like not been
Flagged out, mate.
on this planet. That was like I heard like 3 words in the last 10 minutes.
Right. Well, hopefully we've got it through though. So what subs are your necessities?
It's probably the same ones I'd have the daily life, like creatine, multivitamin. Particularly as your food gets low, you want to make sure you're not missing out on vitamins and nutrients. So multivitamin would probably make sense. Potentially a greens powder as well. If food's low, obviously you might not have enough calories to have a wide variety of fruit and veg. So maybe towards the back end have a green supplement, but you don't have to. It's not a necessity. They're quite expensive, and some of them taste like fucking death. Vitamin D is standard. Just have that all the time. For me, a sleep supplement potentially, but you are going to have bad sleep. You are going to have bad sleep. You just are. I know a lot of people like glutathione because of obviously it helps with when towards the back end of the prep when you're just fucked. It can help with like all manner of things. But again, it's one of those where it's not a necessity. But I know a lot of coaches do really, really like putting it in. And I was advised last time towards the end, it might have been worthwhile to do because I was maybe fading a little bit because of bad sleep, things like that. But it's not a necessity, but it's quite a good one, quite a popular one. I mean, maybe a bit of a left field option. Because obviously, when you're very lean, your skin is thinner and your collagen is really low. So your joints are weaker. Your skin, you get cuts easier. So a lot of things are actually worse. So a collagen supplement might help keep you healthy because obviously you know what it's like when you're very lean. Like you can just brush your finger on something and before you know it, your skin's ripped open and you're bleeding like fuck. And it's like, oh shit, like what's happening there? And obviously your joints aren't as safe, let's say, to load. That's why you need your training. You need to go backwards, not backwards, but you need to like go back on load a little bit. But yeah, there's no necessity. There's no necessity at all. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's anything that you have to take directly. I know your Himbine's in there, but I'm not a big fan of that. Realistically, I don't think it does a lot extra that you won't get if you didn't have it. And I just think it's not worth doing any of these other ones where some coaches will say do it and then stop taking it 2 weeks out so you don't fail your drugs test. I just think that's a stress you don't need on the day of being told that you failed for something that you like a pre-workout like we've seen before. So just keep things basic. It isn't if you're not in shape, it's not because you weren't taking a supplement, it's because you didn't diet hard enough.
Yeah. It's not because you didn't have enough caffeine. But that is probably the one you will lean towards, caffeine. And then if you are taking a sleep supplement and you're smashing 1,000 meg of caffeine, like just probably just consume less caffeine. Your sleep will most likely improve from doing that. And I know when you're in the depths of prep, it's probably hard to do. But yeah, if you sleep suffering, like just fucking try it and see where you go from things from there. And then I know if you rounding off, you got another question on your end, Finn?
No, to be fair, like I say, I had a couple of ones. So Chris Bolger, the head judge, did send in a question just saying that the head judge is, is a really nice bloke, don't you think? So yeah, you are a really nice bloke and you're a fair judge. And so there you go. Chris is a top head judge. And yes, so as I say, I didn't get any other ones that were like overly pertinent in terms of this show in particular. Like I said, I answered Mark one when he said who you're looking forward to the most. So that would be Tom and Leanne, respectively. So for me, that's who that would be. So yeah, I didn't get any more for this show particularly.
Yeah. No, that'll wrap us up from there. But then, yeah, in terms of personally through for my side of things, answering Mark's question, definitely excited to see both Julian and Jacob just got a shed load of muscle. And then also the last from the figure category, who's local to me, I've gotten a name through now. Just looking on the podcast page. Sophia, yeah. So she's coming back. So she'll be coming back for the title. So yeah. So if you're up against it, it's previous British champ. So yeah, it'll be exciting times for sure. And then if the likes of Connor and his missus get up there, people who are supporting the pod, we're all for that. But yeah, this pretty much wraps this pod up. Appreciate you all for listening. Appreciate all the likes, shares, comments. Please subscribe on Spotify, YouTube. Like I say, just to help growing the pod and see who we can get on it. But yeah, that's a wrap from us. We will catch you in the next one. And if you're at the show, NBW, we'll be there this weekend. So hope to see you there, guys. But yeah, that's us. We'll catch you in the next one.